Right. I believe it's 5 o'clock and I believe we have a quorum here and most everybody is jumped on now, if I'm not mistaken. So let's go ahead and get started. Hope everyone's having a good evening. I'm just trying to kick this read AI thing out. It keeps trying to pop up. So bear with me.
Yeah, I'm also getting that.
Tanya,
Are
I
you
denied
done?
it also, and mine's just spinning. So
That's kind of what mine's doing, Jan.
Yeah.
I think I got it to stop this time, but
okay.
darn thing. So, okay, let's carry on. Again, welcome. We have special board meeting tonight, November 5th. We have just a few items of business on the agenda, so I'd like to dive right in and would ask if there's a board member who's willing to make a motion to set the agenda so we can get started.
I'll move that we set the agenda.
Thank you, Kenda. We have a motion.
I'll second.
Was that Taylor?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Taylor. I can't see everyone on my screen at once, so thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Okay, all in favor of the motion to set the agenda for the evening this evening, please say aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, the first item of business this evening is a resolution for another draw request on our line of credit at the Bank of Jackson Hole. So, Bill, do you want to speak to this at all in the financial need at the moment? Do you have anything you want to speak to us about?
This is about the time that we were expecting that we would need to make another draw. So I don't think it's unexpected. And it's just a question of the number that the board wants to use. Do we draw 2, 2.5, 3? I wouldn't recommend we go more than 3, and I wouldn't recommend we go less than 2.
Okay. Okay. I guess my question for you would be, it seems like our last draw helped us along a little longer maybe than we had anticipated, if I remember correctly.
That's my sense as well, yes.
Okay. So I guess my question is, what do you think would be best for us?
In the world, according to Bill, I would split the difference and I'd go for 2.5.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Board members, what does everybody think?
Is there speculation on how long that will last at this point, or when we will need another draw?
So the big question that I have is whether there are any unusual end-of-year expenses. So, example, in some organizations, costs related to your annual insurance renewal comes at the end of the year or first thing in the beginning of the year. I don't know whether we have anything like that that we should expect. Our normal run rate, both for payroll and for weekly AP runs, has been fairly consistent. So I'm not expecting an increase from that perspective. And then the last variable is whether the government gets opened soon and we get our CMS numbers so that we can actually begin to generate billing the way that was originally projected. So those are sort of my 3 thoughts. An average payroll runs us between 450 and 500,000. AP runs can vary from 250 up to almost 5. So looking at the expense budget from September, we were just over $3 million in expenses. So factoring in this plus the collections that we're getting, I'm anticipating that this would last us pretty much through the end of December.
Okay. Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.
Can you remind me also what our total draw is prior to this one?
So we have a total line of
5?
credit of 10 million. We've drawn 5 million of that.
5. Okay, perfect. That's
So
what
if
I was
we do-
remembering. wanted
Yeah,
to
if we
check.
do 2.5 today, we'll have 2.5 left one more time.
Okay. Thank you.
Doesn't the resolution state 3 million? Is it okay if we make it for less?
It does state that, Kenda. I think Michelle wasn't sure. There was some discussion about the total amount that we would want to draw on. And so in emails, she had indicated that she would make it the upper limit just to be on the safe side. I think we could easily change
I'm fi-
that.
Yeah, I'm fine with 3 million. I just, and part of this is not anything scientific. It just, to me, feels better to split it than to have only, I know that sounds funny, but only 2 million left. Either way we do it, at some point in time, unless someone has a rich uncle, we're gonna need to draw the rest. So it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. My only
Bill.
thought, Kenda, and maybe splitting the difference was, less interest. The longer we can go, the less interest we pay. On
Yeah, and
our
I
loan.
completely agree with that. I'm just wondering if we can approve the resolution and say 2.5 million instead of 3 million.
Yeah, I think we could handle the logistics of changing that. Lena, do you want to weigh in on that at all? It's just
You
the
absolutely
paperwork.
can, yeah, yep, it's just the documents, so you absolutely can change that.
Okay. Any other questions or thoughts from anyone? I know it's uncomfortable, but I know it's not unexpected at this point in time where we've known we would be working through this, unfortunately, so.
Madam Chair, I would move to approve resolution number 17-2025 to authorize a draw request from the line of credit at the Bank of Jackson Hole in the amount of $2.5 million.
Okay, thank you, Kenda. We have a motion to draw 2.5 on the line of credit.
Madam Chair, I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Ashley. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further question or discussion, points of discussion from the board? All right, I'll ask for a vote then. All in favor of the motion on the table to approve resolution number 17-2025 for a line of credit draw request in the amount of $2.5 million, please say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. I will work with Jan to get the document reissued in the correct amount and get that back to you.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda under new business this evening is an interim CFO contract that you've been provided. And I know there was some discussion last week from the board when I wasn't here to move forward with this. So we just wanted to get the contract back in front of everyone for formal approval. Excuse me. I know we had to make a date change to the draft. And then Lena, it seems like you had one question that I am drawing a blank on in the back of
Yes.
my mind.
Yes. Yeah, Madam Chair, so the date change, you're correct, it needs to be November 10th, I believe is what Bill had mentioned. And the other just question for the board is there's a provision in this document that states that if the CFO, the interim CFO candidate is unwilling or unable to fill that position, then Impeccable would fill that position. And so I just wanted to make sure that that was the board's intent. That if he is unable or unwilling, that the board wants Impeccable to fill that slot. And if they do, then that's fine. The contract addresses that. If not, we need to revise the document.
Thank you, Lena. Since I missed the discussion last week in this regard, I wasn't sure if the board had discussed that clause of the contract or that piece of this equation. So just any questions from anyone or?
So as I read that, it says acceptable to client, so we would be involved in that process for a new person to be placed. Is that correct, Dom and Bill?
Yes,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
and the other variable is Steve has already committed to the end of April. So I don't, unless something, the old unforeseen circumstance were to happen, I don't have any concern about Steve not fulfilling this as it's currently defined.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, it may not be a big deal. It's just, do you guys understand that's what it says? And is that what the board wants, right? Because, right, like Bill said, he has committed and that's great, but I can't even tell you how many times we always go into contracts with the greatest intentions and then it's the, that didn't happen how we wanted it to, and now we've got to rely on the contract. So we just need to make sure that it is accurate with what the board is intending.
Thank you, Lena. Was that the intent with which the contract was discussed amongst the board last week, I guess is all I want to make sure. So.
Yeah,
We didn't-
we didn't talk about that.
No, we didn't talk about that specifically, but I don't have any issues with it.
Okay. Okay.
I don't either, as long as it says it's, to the nature of the client still. So we still have a say in it to a degree. And it is a work order, correct? Not an actual full-on new contract?
It is, in form, it is a work order, Taylor. Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
Just to be clear, this is a contract though, like this is a legal binding document. So if there's any question about that, for all intents and purposes, Ms. Pittman, it is a contract.
Thanks, Lena.
I'm good with it too. I feel like I'm hoping that the person Bill has coming for us works out, but if not, we still need help in that department.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Any other thoughts? Jameson, anything you want to add
No,
would
well,
someone?
I'm good, Madam Chair. Candace said what was on my mind, so we're good.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to formally approve the work order? Then, if there are no other points of discussion.
Madam Chair, I would make a motion to approve project work order number 4 for an interim CFO.
Okay,
thank you, Ashley. We have a motion now.
And Madam Chair,
Madam
that
Chair, I'll
motion is
second.
with the amendment. That's with the amendment to the date, correct?
Yes, the
Make
form
sure
that, yes, the corrected form that I have in front of me does have the correct date, but thank you, Lena. I appreciate that. Okay,
Lena, do we need to revise our motion?
No, it sounds like Madam Chair has the correct form. I have not seen the updated form, but it sounds like Madam Chair has it.
Okay. Then Madam Chair, I'll second.
okay, thank you. So we do have a motion by Ashley and a second by Taylor. Is there any other discussion in this regard? All right, I will ask for a vote then on the motion to approve project work order number 4 from Impeccable for a CFO placement. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, any opposed? I think I heard 4. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Excuse me. Next item under new business this evening is invoices over $20,000. We just have a couple of those. And I don't know, is Dawn on this evening? Did I see Dawn? I don't think Dawn's on this evening. Bill, were you prepared to answer any questions about the skilled nursing facility assessment?
As long as they're easy questions.
Okay, okay. Well, we can certainly try for that, right?
Yes.
So I just had one, it looks to me, if I'm reading all of these documents properly in regard to the skilled nursing facility, we owe one amount and we're being reimbursed for another amount for the upper payment limit. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the approximate numbers, we're getting paid about $140,000, and then we have to pay about $85,000. So I'd take that deal every day.
Yeah. And that's how I read it also. We've only done a few of these, and so I wanted to make sure that I was interpreting everything properly. So thank you. So we have the invoices that will need to be handled for the skilled nursing side to the state, the assessments, and then we have the Moeller Law invoice to consider. Has everyone had access to those and opportunity to review?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Ashley. Okay. All right. Anyone have any questions about any of those documents or the materials contained therein? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Would someone like to take action on these items?
I guess I do have one question. Do we need to, even though, do we have to approve this one where we're getting a reimbursement?
That was
Does
kind
that
of my question
fall
for Dawn.
under the
too, Ashley,
category?
so-
I guess I'm not quite sure how to form my motion.
Understood. I don't know if it's an acceptance of. Bill, do you have any guidance that way, or Lena?
Well, typically, we don't need board action to receive money. So all we need board action for is the payment. So I think just a normal motion talking about the payment related to the SNF assessment and then the payment related to the Moeller invoice, I think that would be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Bill, my only question would be, are we being asked to agree to the accounting, like to the actual calculation of the reimbursement, or no?
No,
Okay, yeah, then I would 100% agree with Bill.
Okay, I had the same questions as Ashley as I was reading through them, and I wasn't sure about the hold harmless memo. Do we need to take any action in that regard, or is that just is that just informational for us, I guess?
I would say that's what it is. Yes.
Okay. They all came under the invoices, so I wasn't sure exactly how to handle those, but thank you.
Mhm.
Does that help you, Ashley?
Yes. Okay, I would make a motion to sorry, it's been a long day, to approve invoices over $20,000, including our quarterly assessment for the skilled nursing facility and the Moeller Law invoice.
Thank you, Ashley, for the motion.
I'll second.
We have a second by Kenda. Are there any other points for discussion? Then let's put it to a vote. All in favor of the motion to approve the skilled nursing facility quarterly assessment payment and the payment to Moeller Law, please say aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda for this evening is insurance claims. So I will give you the floor, Bill, to discuss what you need to in this regard.
And I apologize, I am drawing a blank on this one.
Oh, okay, okay. Is this something that we need to, I
Oh, is
wasn't
this the
sure.
excuse me, the glycol issue?
That's what I was wondering, but I didn't know what action we needed to formally consider tonight, or if this was just an informational update is what I was wondering.
No, I think kicking in, I think it is related to the glycol issue. So my understanding is that when we first had this issue, we had not been given, or the building hadn't been turned over to us. And so the question was, should this be on our insurance or should it be on the contractor or the subs? We have received advice from Trey at Tegler that he's advising us not to do a claim on our policy, that we should push it on to the contractor or the subs. I think Lena is of the opinion, and Lena, you should probably speak for yourself, but that this probably does fall under our responsibility. And so we're just wanting direction to make sure that we're properly protecting the organization, but also making sure that the bill for the cleanup and the necessary repairs actually is finally paid for.
Thank you, Bill. Lena, do you want to speak to that at all? I know it had to do with our builder's risk
Sure.
insurance lapsing just before it happened and some of the other components of this equation.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I apologize. I would have been better prepared. I didn't realize this was a topic tonight, but you are correct. So, Bill, the reason that it needs builder's
Oh.
risk to lapse. And did I lose you?
You were in and out there for just a moment.
Okay, I apologize. So let me start over. So we did allow our builder's risk insurance to lapse because if we would have renewed it, it would have been for a time period that we wouldn't have needed it. And so the decision was made to just have general liability insurance. From that point moving forward, routinely a mechanical failure would be covered under our builder's risk. But because the district made the decision to not continue with our builder's risk, it needs to be submitted to our general liability. It is not something that is covered by by the general contractor or anyone else. This is an owner responsibility. I would love to punt this to someone else. I would, but unfortunately we let that builder's risk lapse, and we had conversations about that risk with our previous interim CEO, knowing full well that that was a risk that we had to take.
So thank you for that, Lena. The fact that the building hadn't been completely turned over to us doesn't change any of that?
No, it does not, because the substantial completion date had lapsed at that time.
Okay, great, thank you. So then, just in our conversations with Trey, we want the board to understand that according to Trey, filing a claim this early in the renewal will most likely affect our renewal rates next year.
Do you know how significant that could look on our books at
No,
all,
he
Bill?
didn't have any estimate. He just said in general that carriers don't like on a new policy a claim to be filed pretty much right away. If I remember right, and Jan has been involved in these conversations, so I would ask if I'm saying anything that's not quite right, Jan, correct me. But if we don't have much in the way of claims this year, then the expectation was that our renewal would pretty much be at what we're currently paying, that there wouldn't be much of an increase. But with filing a claim, we just need to be prepared for an increase. I don't know whether it's significant or not. He just said we need to be prepared for it.
What's the amount of the claim?
I haven't seen the invoice for that. Do you know off the top of your head, Lena?
Give me 2 minutes. Let me grab the invoice.
Thank you. I'm inclined to feel like we probably should go ahead and file a claim regardless, but I'm not sure what everyone else is thinking.
But depending on the number, then the second question that I would ask is, what is our deductible? So I'll make up numbers. If the repair is 60,000 and our deductible is 50,000, then I would be inclined to say we should just pay it and not file a claim.
Mhm.
But if the repair is 200,000, then it's a different story.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Bill. That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
The repair,
I
sorry,
agree.
Lena, if you haven't pulled it up, the repair is $137,025. And I will look up, Trey sent us our deductibles, so I'll look that up, but 137.25 is the glycol.
Thank you, Jan.
And Jan, for some reason, I recall specifically being told that there was a different deductible if it was water damage versus whether it was some other type of damage. And this was not water damage. That's why we keep being really careful to call it a glycol flood or glycol damage. And I understand full well why the insurance company doesn't love us making a claim so quickly after being insured, but that's the point of having insurance, right? Like the district did their due diligence in making sure that there was no lapse or any time where we weren't covered. And they were very careful in the dates of that timing.
It's so, oh, I apologize, Jan. Did you
No,
have something?
sorry. I was gonna answer that. Trey did confirm that, yes, he knows this is not a water issue. That whole water $50,000 deductible came up when we had the flood at the Proactive building. So he said our deductible for regular deductible is 10,000, wind hail is 25,000, water is actually 75,000 on this policy. So it looks like I would think it would fall under the regular deductible of 10,000.
Which would make a lot of sense for us to go ahead and file a claim in my mind, but would you
Yeah.
agree?
Yes. Yeah, recognizing that we may have after the fact effect, but I agree with Lena. That's why you have insurance, and the timing of when you have a claim, no one can predict. It's one of those things that you wonder, why is it worse to file a claim a day before the policy lapses than it is on the day after the policy went into effect? But, and maybe it's not, it may just be Trey is being cautious. But given the numbers that have been referenced and the fact that this was a known decision to let the one policy lapse, then I would agree with Lena's recommendation that we should go ahead and file a claim.
And if I remember correctly, the builder's risk that we discussed, and the facts that we let it lapse was based on the, if I remember correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Lena, but I think it was an annual policy, was it not? We would have been paying for a
Correct.
year's worth of coverage,
Another year.
and we only needed a couple of months, so,
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct, Madam Chair.
okay. So does anyone have, I don't know that we need action here. I think it was just a discussion item that we would be filing a claim, if I'm not mistaken, from the email chain that I had seen earlier. Is that?
Right, I don't believe that we need board permission to file the claim. We
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that the board was fully informed about it.
Thank you, Bill.
Yep.
Any other questions? Jameson, I saw you light up. Did you have something to ask or add?
No, ma'am. I'm good.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or discussions on that topic? Okay, we'll move on. The next item on the agenda is the umbrella insurance issue that I know you were coming prepared with some information for us, Bill.
Yep, and this one I remember. As we have been looking at the amount of insurance we have related to the level of insurance that the health tech contract would want us to have, I wanted to provide you with the information we have regarding what the different levels of insurance would cost us. So we currently have the base policy in place and then a $2 million umbrella on top of that. So a total of $3 million in coverage, and that costs us $92,600. So that's what we currently have in place. If we were to grow the coverage to a $5 million umbrella, which would then be a total of $6 million, that would add an additional insurance premium of just shy of $125,000, so that the total then would be $217,000. Going to $9 million, which with the $1 million base would put us at $10 million, that would add $247,000 for a total of $340,000. Taking on the $9 million, basically $250,000, given our cash situation, that would not be something that I would want to recommend. Even taking on $125,000 would be a pill I wouldn't want to try and swallow. I understand from a typical contractual requirement that anywhere from $5 to $10 million is normal. That's what I've been used to seeing in contracts. But I would suggest that at this point in time, given our financial situation, I would also argue that at this point in time, with our overall risk being that our volumes aren't high, that our level of service isn't complex, that a $3 million package may be deemed appropriate. So I just wanted to provide that information to the board so that you knew we're currently paying just shy of $93,000. To go to the next level would be another $125,000, and to go all the way to 10 would be an extra $247,000.
Thank you, Bill. I'm glad we have Dom on tonight, because I know, Dom, this related back to our contract with Health Tech and some of the questions about our insurance coverage. So is this something that Health Tech understands the financial situation we're in and is willing to allow those limits in the contract moving forward, and comfortable with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even if at all possible, I would. I mean, I don't want to make this drag this out, but I'd really like to be given an opportunity just to get back to you to see if there's anything else we can do. I definitely don't want you to have exposure that's going to cost you more money than it should. So I would really like to just have a discussion with Derek, and I'd just like to try and see if we can just get it to the the bare minimum if possible. If that's okay with you, if you could just give me a little bit more time to do that.
I'm comfortable with that. If everyone else is, I would appreciate that. So, okay. Does anyone?
I would prefer that.
Okay. Ashley, did I catch you trying to say something
Yeah,
as well?
I just said that I agree. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Dom.
Thank you.
Okay, Lena, is that good with you, Lena? I know that it's been a few weeks, so.
Yes, absolutely. Whatever Health Tech is comfortable with, I'm happy to report that back to the board as well, Dom. I think that's the best approach. Bill and I have had a pretty lengthy discussion about insurance and in Wyoming and no damage caps. It's an interesting area for sure, especially for governmental entities.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just try and get that down to the absolute minimum without unnecessary risk.
Okay, thank you, Dom. I will just wait to hear from you, Lena, and from Dom or Peggy regarding the final signing on that amended contract when all of the details are to everyone's satisfaction.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda this evening under new business is management concerns. And I'm again glad that Dom is here with us tonight. We've been working to get together as a board with him for a couple of weeks now, because we, as a board, had formulated some concerns that we had based on performance from Health Tech. And we've you know, we have to acknowledge that we're learning this process as well. So I appreciate Dom's patience in working through this with us, but I just wanted to get everyone in a room tonight and kind of talk through some of the concerns we had and allow him the opportunity to share from health tech's perspectives where they're at. And I think this is overall, this is a growing experience and a learning experience for all involved. So Dom, thanks for being here this evening.
Absolutely. Very happy to be here. And I'm glad we're having this conversation, because I think it's really, really important that there's clarity and transparency, and we want you all to be as obviously as happy as possible.
Yeah, thank you. So I will, the board has, you know, obviously we worked hard to prepare the letter together, but then we did get responses from you today, and I'm grateful for that. I guess probably the best place to start is just some of the terms in that initial letter, which I'm just trying to get open to. So bear with me here for a moment.
Sure.
And our first concern, Dom, was about the handoff that took place between interims. And I know that it sounds like it's a little unorthodox for that to look different in a typical organization. But I think we've discovered we aren't a typical organization. And so we had some concerns that there was no one from our team, our internal team, invited to take place in that handoff. And I wanted to give you an opportunity to explain that kind of from your side. And then obviously, you know, board members and admin team weigh in where you feel necessary. This is just meant to be a discussion so we can all move ahead in a better direction.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, certainly that that meeting wasn't intended to you know, upset anybody or you know, create any red flags or anything like that. The meeting was really just for us to have a handover between the outgoing interim CEO as well as the incoming CEO, interim CEO. In that meeting, you know, typically that meeting, I'm in the meeting, I normally call the meeting, our regional VP of finance would be in the meeting as well. In this particular meeting, we also invited Lane, because obviously her responsibility was such a huge area of focus at the time. And it was really just a handover meeting from a health tech point of view. Obviously, Impeccable's involved in it, you know, in terms of where the contracts lie for the interims, but it was really just to, you know, bring Bill up to speed with where things were at. And like I said in my letter, the meeting that should have taken place with the hospital leadership team, that should have been an introduction meeting and a handover meeting between Greg and Bill and the leadership team. And I don't know if that meeting took place. I'm not sure. Maybe Bill can tell us if that did or didn't happen. But the one that I have typically doesn't involve, you know, doesn't involve board members from the hospital. Moving forward, you know, if you wanted to change that, I mean, I'd be extremely happy to consider changing that to, you know, to work towards, you know, your goals and satisfy you guys.
Thank you, Dom. I think this gave me some clarity today in your response when I read who you would typically include. And I think that is where some of the issue has lied with our team and our admin and our staff. Typically, in a normal organization, those positions that you said you would include, the CNO, the CFO, the CEO, would be our employees. And we don't have those employees right now. So they're all from Impeccable,
Right.
which I think is part of the problem. And it's not necessarily a problem, except in that we don't have any skin in the game, so to speak,
Right.
in some of those communications. And I think that was a light bulb moment for me today when you said that that is what the typical would look like. And so I guess my ask would be that the health tech team and the impeccable people who are currently in work really hard to include adjunct staff members who might be heavily involved in some of those decisions and actions moving forward, so that there is some continuity in the communication with our team and they don't feel like they're just being left out in the dark. And I don't know if I'm saying that very well. I would invite anyone else to please jump in here. Lindsay, Doc.
I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I could comment on what you just said, I think we completely felt like we were left in the dark. I wasn't privy to your email with Dom. I just know whether it was an unintended consequence of that meeting, that was the impression that was left. And we never did have a handoff meeting with Bill and Greg and any member of the leadership team.
Thank you, Doc. It sounds like it was an unintentional situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And atypical.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, you know, what you just highlighted made the situation, you know, from a perception point of view, created that perception. I think that if Greg didn't have the handover meeting with Bill and the leadership team, that's not having that meeting would have created the perception that it did. I think if that meeting did materialize, I think it would have been a very different situation, and it should have materialized. It absolutely should have happened.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, please.
I just wanted to say that even though we started off, I agree with what Dr. Burnett said. I do think that Bill has made great strides to make sure we're caught up and we're in the know, as well as Lane too. So just wanted to add that.
Thank you, Lindsay. I appreciate that. And I think that's probably the goal for everyone involved. So.
Definitely.
Anyone else have anything they want to add? Board members, I know we've had a lot of internal discussion about this, so please jump in.
Yeah, I would just make one comment. I think that as Tanya kind of mentioned, that, you know, our organization is just a little bit different in terms of how I guess really just, you know, the CEO, or what we're intending for the CEO to still be our employee. And Dom, I feel like that's kind of, you know, outside of what you guys are usually used to, where the CEO is your employee. And so I feel like that is a different dynamic and kind of a different chain of command there to some extent. So it definitely, you know, requires us to figure out how to, you know, work within, you know, what you guys are usually used to, and probably for you guys to figure out how to adjust to that for our organization as well. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good point.
And I understand it's difficult right now because we don't have the full team of our own. So it's hard to include that team when they don't exist at the moment. But I think that's where it's critical that we pull in everyone who might be somewhat involved in those discussions and decisions, and just to keep everyone on the same page.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. The second concern that we had was that we didn't feel like we were hearing assessments or recommendations as a board regarding our financial situation. And that's obviously very precarious at the moment and something that we're heavily concerned about. I feel like great strides have been made in the last couple of weeks or month in that regard, Dom. So at the time we wrote this letter, I feel like there's already been improvement. But if you'd like to speak to it, or if Bill, you have any comments you want to add, anybody else? That was just our second point of concern.
Yep. I think that, you know, the laser focus was on opening the hospital. I think that we are now at a point, and you know, since Bill's arrival, that has certainly changed pretty drastically. We've also made not some internal changes, but you know, we had to get to a point where we could actually kick off things from a finance point of view. There's been a lot of information gathering and fact gathering on the background with regards to understanding the back office of the hospital's finance. So I think that, you know, as time goes by over the next few weeks, I think that the financial picture is going to be a lot clearer than it currently is. We know the basics of the financial picture, but I think we need to get really, you know, we need to be able to get the data so that we can really drill down to statistics and data and supply information that is just a lot more useful from a strategy point of view.
And I agree with what Dom said. I would add to that I think the board is really going to be pleased with the financial reports that Steve will provide. You're going to get so much more organized detail, both related to the dollars, but also volumes. And then, so that will be initial focus. And then as Steve starts to dig into some of the billing structures, and hopefully we get the leader within that department, then we'll be able to drill down and share with you where we stand as our accounts receivable, so that you can see both where we're at and then the progress we're making. I was part of a call today with Doreen and Margaret from Health Tech, and Margaret spoke to her sort of pleasure that some of the reports that Doreen is now providing are helping her to better evaluate, so that as we bring on the two billers that Dom has provided for us pro bono, we're able to focus their time much more efficiently. So I appreciate the comments about the progress we've made over the last couple of months. I would just tell you, it's going to get even better in the coming months.
Thanks, Bill. One of the things that I've just got to work out how to do this. I really would like to share with the board, you know, Bill, when the CFO arrives there, when it comes to the financial reporting to the board and the board packet, the board finance packet report itself, as you know, you're really familiar with it, and it's very, very comprehensive. And obviously, we would expect him to use our financial reporting template. I'd love to be able to share one of these templates with the board. I'll have to just, you know, get rid of some of the confidential data. But if you're okay with it, Tanya, I would like to be able to share an example of this report, because I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with how comprehensive our financial reporting document is.
Yeah, and I was very appreciative of the one that you sent me already, Dom, when we had discussed that at some length a couple of weeks ago. It was very overwhelming,
Yeah.
but it was helpful. I could see how it could be very helpful. And I guess my question for you is, do you have all of the financial information that you need? I mean, are you receiving from the district the financial information that you need to be able to complete those reports and adequately work through everything?
No, not yet, you know, because we need this to be automated on the data feed. So we are having some connection issues, but I know that Margaret and Elreen are working through it every single day. I think that there was a little bit of a understanding problem on the hospital side, and possibly just an experience problem, to be honest with you. So we in a situation where you know, that data would be relatively easy normally, but there's also a little bit of sort of mentoring and helping that we have to do from our side to get the extracts.
Okay, that's helpful. That is helpful. Okay.
Bill, may I ask a question on that?
Yeah.
Was that a lack of experience on the hospital side, or is that more of a problem with Ocean and trying to get the reporting and so forth that you need?
Lena, it's actually been both.
Oh, has it? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've kind of had complications maybe with OCHN as well as like U of U and so forth with medical records. And I think that sometimes that happens when you've got new systems being set up, right? And we literally went live on August 4th when we opened the hospital. So those are hard. That's hard.
Yeah, absolutely. They are both. And, you know, in some of these instances, you know, I mean, I could send you an email chain that's, you know, 30, 40 emails long. And, on many of these instances, and if you had to spend the time to read through it, then you'd see exactly what I'm talking about. But obviously, you know, those emails, and, you know, we keeping Bill up to speed, you know, on a daily and hourly basis on what's going on there.
That's helpful. That's helpful. Anyone else have anything to add or ask Dom in this regard? Okay, well, I do appreciate the efforts that are being made to help us get ahead with some of these things, Dom. I realize that your team has really stepped up, especially in the last few weeks. I'm especially appreciative of those efforts. I think so many strides have been made since we put together this list that I have really seen an improvement. So thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I will move on to the next one if no one else has any questions or concerns. Okay. The third item that we were kind of concerned about is the evaluation process for interim leadership positions, Dom. And I have gained a better understanding. It sounds like that's just not a typical process that health tech. I know you have an evaluation process for leadership positions, but not interim leadership positions. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's 100% correct. And maybe it's something that we can look at in the future of changing. But yeah, typically we don't do that. We do it with permanence because it's critically important. I mean, not to say that the interims aren't important, but I think as I had mentioned to you once before, and possibly even in an email as well, in most cases, as brutal as it sounds, if a hospital was or is unhappy with an interim, basically what we would do is we'd find a new interim and replace that person. We'd obviously dig into pretty carefully as to why there's unhappiness, but and it seldom, it rarely happens, but in most cases, that's kind of the beauty of an interim assignment, that if there's a performance problem or there's a productivity problem, or in some cases there's even persona and relationship problems, which you just don't know about heading into the assignment. And in fact, in most cases, the relationship problems are the ones that actually end up being the biggest problem, not the performance. So as brutal as it sounds, when we do have these situations crop up where an interim is not performing for whatever reason, the beauty of that is we have many of those interims on deck to make a replacement.
Okay. All right, I appreciate that information, and I think timing for us was very difficult, in looking at how things would compute at the moments when we needed possible change. So
yeah,
but
I get that.
Okay. Anyone else have anything in that regard? Some of that will delve into personnel issues that we need to discuss in executive too. So. All right. The fourth item that we had put in our address to health tech was minimal attendance at board meetings, strategic meetings, finance and medical staff meetings. I think this one is again a function of communication and not really understanding what health tech had been doing in the background, maybe that we just were not seeing and we're not aware of. So that's I do have a better understanding of that after your response, Dom, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem at all. And I think that, you know, if you look at the timeline and you look at the areas where you were potentially possibly more in the dark than you should have been, then, you know, things are pretty obvious as to why. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, it's critically important that, you know, the CEO keeps the board informed. And, you know, I think Bill's doing a really, really good job of that. And I think that the board is doing a really good job in their job in terms of, you know, overseeing the CEO and asking the CEO for what they need. I think it's a two-way street, but yeah, there's been a lot of work going on. There's no doubt about it. And you know, everybody on our team is and I have no doubt and that they're all doing their very, very best, and they're putting in a lot of work and a lot of effort. And there are also a lot of meetings, you know, just that I have in the background that, you know, none of you know about. I have a meeting, for instance, every single week on Sublette. In fact, it's tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. And I sit down with our whole team, and that's an internal team meeting of our own. Bill is not even in that meeting itself. So, you know, I've got to keep everybody on track. That's my job. I need to keep, you know, the CEO informed. I need to work hand in hand with the CEO. That's absolutely critical. And then, of course, at the end of the day, my job is also report into you as while the CEO does the same thing. So there's a lot that goes on in the background. You know, I think it's just a case of, you know, how much you want to know. But I think what I tried to do, communicating that letter to you today, was just to show that, you know, to show you and demonstrate to you that, you know, there hasn't been any lack of meeting attendance by any means.
Thanks, Tom. Can you just give us a brief rundown, just so it's very clear in our heads, since this management thing is kind of new to all of us still? What is industry standard? I mean, what would a management company typically attend in any other facility?
You know, you know, most of our competitors are way bigger than us. We are, you know, as you know, we're much more of a boutique management firm, and really much more of a sort of hands-on from an executive level, white glove service kind of management firm. So in most cases, typically, there really are two meetings. It's the monthly finance meeting and it's the board meeting. And then outside of that, all the other meetings, clinical meetings, med staff meetings, and all of that is mainly by invite from the hospital. But of course, you know, we can attend, you know, there are other meetings that are, you know, more ad hoc. They're not weekly or monthly. They're depending on timeline. You know, one of the other meetings that's going to be coming up for us in the early next year is going to be strategic planning. You know, we've got to sit down and look at strategic planning. We've got to do market share analysis, and the strategic planning process it's a pretty heavy process. There's a lot of time involved, and there's a lot of work involved. I think Bill can probably share some of his experiences, but strategic planning is a big one. That will be where our strategic planning director, she probably interviews somewhere in the region of 25 people within the hospital before we even commence work. So that is very, very meeting intensive. But yeah, I just, you know, basically, you know, it really falls down to those two meetings that are formal, and then, you know, many informal meetings, or I don't want to say informal, but unscheduled in comparison to board meetings.
Okay. Questions from board members?
I have one, Dom. So in terms of other meetings that you guys would usually attend, does that usually come from the CEO then to you, you know, requesting assistance in certain areas or attendance at certain meetings?
Yes, that's correct. Either the CEO, the CFO, or the chief nursing officer. So, you know, if if Lane needed a meeting with anybody on any of our consultants, she just reach out to them directly, and
Gotcha. Okay.
But having said that, so most of those meetings would be scheduled through the CEO. But if somebody on the leadership team wanted a meeting outside of that chain of command or outside of that, it really wouldn't bother us at all. If somebody wants to meet with us and talk to us, by all means, they can do that. I think the important thing is just to make sure that Bill is CC'd and he's kept in the loop at all times.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm sitting here and it's just getting darker and darker and darker. So
It's that time of year, huh?
yeah.
Okay. Any questions from anyone else? Okay. The last item we had put on our list, Dom, was concern about the RCM director position and how long we had been discussing the need there and how there was no movement. Again, I think our board had full understanding that that position can be very, very difficult to fill, and that the candidate that we really wanted was out of reach financially for us, and that strides were being made to try to fill the position. But I think from our standpoint, in regard to our finances, it was feeling almost frantic for a moment, how we take care of that issue and how we direct our attention to that issue. And so when we made this list, that was kind of heavy on our minds. But since then, I'll let you kind of tell the board what strides your team has taken to address that, because there have been some significant ones.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the revenue cycle directors, and I'm talking about good ones, at the moment are very hard to find, and they're very scarce. You just have to look at Reed Becker's every single day. For those of you who get the Becker's email in your inbox, and you'll see that revenue cycle directors is a very, very hot property. The hospitals everywhere are looking for strong revenue cycle directors, and they're paying a lot of money for them in terms of compensation, because the revenue cycle process has become a lot more complicated than it was a few years ago. So those positions are really, really critical. And we were, obviously, rural hospital, finding that kind of position, for rural hospitals is sometimes makes it even more challenging. But while we were going along with that process, as we spent more and more time thinking about it and talking about it, and as I was engaging more with our VP of revenue cycle client success, as well as Alreen, who's a revenue cycle director, as well as talking to Bill, we really felt that because of the number of invoices and and from a billing point of view and from a collections point of view and the amount of work that was needed in the back office, that at the end of the day, right now, a revenue cycle director position is not really the requirement. And we came to this conclusion about a month ago. So we switched, we spoke to Bill about it, and we switched from that to looking for a very strong business office manager who's more hands-on and can do a whole lot of different functions, instead of something that we really wanted originally, which was somebody to build a revenue cycle department. But the hospital at this stage can't really afford to build out a revenue cycle department. We have to work with what we have, and we have to find the gaps. And we believe that we found that, and then fill the FTEs where we think we're going to get the most efficiency and the most productivity. So that's why we've changed that outlook. I know that Amy and Margaret have probably in the last 3 weeks gone through somewhere in the region of 12 or 14 resumes already. Still haven't found anybody that we love. I do believe we have two. I saw an email today where there are 2 new potential business office managers. But I think that the arrival of the new CFO is going to be extremely helpful, so that we can, get the new CFO actively involved in how you know, how he would like this department to look, and obviously support him as best we can, and we'll make sure we do that.
Thank you, Don. Any questions or comments from anyone on the team?
Just a comment that I feel like we're appreciative of you guys, you know, recognizing that area and doing what you can to help us, and also appreciate you kind of shifting gears from what you were, you know, we were all originally thinking, to make the best of what we have currently and figure out how to work through it. So.
My pleasure, Ashley. So yeah, just, you know, I made the offer to take on the billing, and you know, we're getting that in place. I need to double check that on with my internal meeting tomorrow as to what the status is on that. But yeah, while we're going through these pains and these trials and tribulations, I just wanted to make sure that, you know, where we can help you out, we do just that.
I'm very appreciative, Don. As I mentioned already, I feel like significant change has taken place just since we sent this list of concerns to you, and just in leadership and all of those things. And I'm appreciative. I'm grateful that you took the list and considered it and are willing to hear us and help us kind of work through and navigate some of this, because we're still learning too. So
yeah, absolutely. And you know, the one thing that I just wanted to make a comment on, if I may, with regards to, you know, putting you the board in a box, and you know, that you guys aren't typical to, you know, other hospitals, and you know, you're looking at employing the CEO directly instead of that person falling under a health tech employment. You know, really at the end of the day, you know, that's what we've got to do. You know, every single one of our hospitals is different. You know, they're located in different geography, they've got different challenges, their makeup and their composition is different. The boards are different, you know, people are different, you know, so styles are different. You know, we've just got to adapt to that, and I can tell you right now that our team will be very, very supportive of that. We just want to make absolutely sure that we bring our experience to the table, and you know, if we see some decision making that we don't agree upon, and we don't agree upon that decision because of our experience, and we've been down that particular path before and we've seen the outcome, then I just want to, you know, make sure that, you know, we are in a position to just advise you and to make recommendations to you as to why we think that is a good or a bad decision, you know, or could be a good or a bad decision.
yeah, absolutely. I think we will rely upon you for that.
Yeah.
Just have to work at continuing to develop the relationship.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Anyone else on the board or team have comments they want to make in this regard?
I just appreciate the conversation and agree with what Tanya said in terms of building the relationship. So thank you.
Thank you, Ash.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. If no one has anything else, that puts us at the end of our regular business for the evening. We do have a couple items that we'll need to discuss in executive session for personnel briefly. So any last minute comments from anyone?
Sure. You just went on to mute.
Sorry.
No
Yeah,
worries.
then we'll conclude that part of our meeting, and I would ask for a motion to enter into executive session to discuss personnel issues.
Madam Chair, I would make a motion to enter into executive session for the purpose of personnel.
Thank you, Ashley.
Madam Chair, I'll second.
All right, thank you, Taylor. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify so.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carries. And I would ask that anyone who's not on the admin team or board now step off briefly.